August 28th, 2012, Tuesday. First thing, Miss Waldron asked about their match from the night before. First team didn't constrain themselves around their teacher. "It was awesome! We beat them so bad!" Olympian started off the tirade. "Yeah, we all did something to bench the other team. It was so cool," Midas said. Interestingly enough, about the same time as your match, Australian scientists noticed unusual seismic activity. "You wouldn't have anything to do with that, would you?" Miss Waldron asked. That might have been me," Midas said softly. "That brings us to a lesson I want us all to do together. This morning we will be talking about your powers and how they affect the things surrounding you. For instance, if that match would have taken place in a populated area, would you have done the same things?" For the first half of the day, they went over safety rules when using powers in populated areas. Miss Waldron gave the one valuable piece of information that made them pay attention. In your second year here, some of your matches will take place in the town. The techs even put mannequins up and down the streets. Too much damage to a building or any civilian casualties will cost you the match, Miss Waldron said. Darkspeed and the others were taking this in and trying to imagine how complex the matches would be then. The idea of trying to fight around civilians seemed like it would really limit their ability to fight. "Is that something that Connors will teach us? How to fight around people?" Midas asked. He was genuinely concerned about the impact his power may have. "He taught Shogun. He's never taken out any civilians," she said. "Yes, Midas. As your time here progresses, you will be taught all of those things," Miss Waldron said. She then multiplied into 7 Miss Waldrons. "Let's get back to our normal lessons." Darkspeed and the team had something waiting for Connors as he walked into the room. On the stage in the center was the whiteboard on a tripod, with "Never Alone" across the center. Connors walked right to the whiteboard and grinned. "You shouldn't have." Connors put down his coffee cup while still gripping his clipboard. "Darkspeed, move the whiteboard." "Sure," Darkspeed said as the whiteboard and tripod seemingly blinked off the stage. "We have more material to cover than you could ever imagine." Connors handed a paper to each of the members of First Team. "This tells you how to get access to the written copy of the lecture I'm about to give. I don't expect you to absorb everything in one pass. I expect you to reread every topic we cover. Darkspeed can testify that one small thing can mean the difference between victory and defeat." "Yes, I can," Darkspeed said. "There are 3 phases to superhero combat. They are the crush, the fray, and the cleanup. The crush is when the 2 teams first clash. They try to knock each other off balance and take a better position on the field. The crush starts at the onset of combat and continues until the forward momentum of the more aggressive team is stopped. In military terms, this would be your bombing runs and artillery fire that causes your enemy to reevaluate their position. Yesterday your crush was very effective and stopped when she was after Zoner. That's when the fray happened. The fray is when the crush is over and teams start fighting directly. Every inch of the field, every pen, and especially every person benched are all part of the fray. When teams are evenly matched, this part of combat will be the longest. If this were war, this would be the main battles. The last part is the cleanup. That's when hard targets are benched. These are opponents that are hard to engage. She is a hard target because of her invisibility. Darkspeed is a hard target because of his speed and darkness powers. Ghost was your hard target yesterday. Olympian may be hard to put down, but he would not be a hard target. He's easy to find on the field. For each of these 3 phases, there will be a different combat style your team will adopt. It's not a set formula. It will be unique to your team and your challenges. There are principles and goals that are universal. These will help define your style. For instance, yesterday you found one of the principles. All team members participate in the crush. The more talent and training that can be focused on your opponent all at once will add to the power of your crush. Connors continued to lay out information First Team was waiting for. If Connors had just started spouting this information on day 1, First Team may have thought it just another adult talking at them. Now they needed everything Connors had to teach. His words were now precious to the Alphas, who had felt lost and without direction for weeks. The session continued right up until they had to leave for specialty classes. Universally, First Team would have rather blown off whatever else they had to do just to keep the inflow coming. But Connors assured them it would be better to stop and have them review the written version of the lecture and then add to it tomorrow. During matches that night, First Team rooted for Saber, as 4th Team took on 8th Team. Saber did well fighting against the members of 4th team. Mr. Takada, Shi's relative, was a good stealth and coach. 4th team turned out to be too sneaky for 8th team, just as they had been for 1st team. After the loss, Saber was gracious with his congratulations to Echo. The rest of 8th team looked like they were about to fight with each other. Greco said something to the others about them not pulling their weight like he and Saber did. The Iraqi healer asked the Israeli stealth where she was during combat. Shroud answered by saying nothing she could do would have saved the 2 red-shirt Arab girls from the bench. Newton, the Libyan anchor, was about to attack all of his teammates out of frustration. Saber tried to get everyone to show a more professional face in public. It didn't work. Coach Inferno had to step in and keep them from fighting amongst each other. Connors and the other coaches watched on. Dr. DeClute was also in the stands watching. Connors looked at her and made a displeased face that said, "I told you so." Combat training that night meant more to 1st team members than it did before. Now they were making fewer mistakes and getting hurt less. In their minds, they were now finding how they could apply what they were doing in their matches in the pit. For Saber, it was therapeutic. Aggression that was left over from earlier could be vented. In the dorm room later, Darkspeed had everyone dissect the lecture in the common room study. Afterwards, they kept talking about how they could apply it to their next match that would be with 8th team. Saber was the only one on that team they worried about. He was powerful and could think while he fought. As much as they liked him, they knew they would have to target him first. A decapitation of the team's unifying force. Bioforce was finally the voice of reason that had them all go to bed before they needed her services in the morning.